The Galactic Council emergency session was held in a hidden location, far from Earth and far from the spreading war. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in fear, watching their galaxy tear itself apart. The Vorthak Empire, which had maintained peace through strength for 3,000 years, was collapsing. The council chambers filled with desperate voices. Some species demanded that the humans be stopped before they destroyed everything. Others argued that the Vorthak had brought this destruction on themselves. A few quietly suggested that perhaps it was time for the Empire to end. Ambassador Vex Ra of the Kalari spoke first. His people had been slaves for 50 years until the human rebellion gave them hope to fight back. The humans did not start this war, he said. The Vorthak came to their world and demanded surrender. The humans simply refused to become slaves. If that makes them monsters, then we are all monsters for wanting freedom. The representative from the hegemony systems disagreed. The humans are using weapons that can destroy entire planets. They are targeting civilian populations. They have turned war into something inhuman. Admiral Jiwoo's voice suddenly filled the chamber. Human technology had allowed her to hack into their communication system from across the galaxy. "You call us inhuman," she said, her voice calm, but carrying a threat that made every alien present shiver. "But we did not start destroying civilian populations. The Vorthak glassed 3 of our colony worlds before we ever targeted one of theirs." The chamber fell silent. Every species present knew she was right. "We gave you all a choice," Jiwoo continued. "Any species that supported Vorthak aggression would face the same fate as their masters. Some of you chose to help them. Others chose to stay neutral. A few chose to help us. Now you all get to see the consequences of those choices." On the display screens around the chamber, images appeared showing the current state of the war. 67 Vorthak worlds had been attacked in the past month. 15 planets had been completely destroyed. The Vorthak fleet, once numbering 50,000 ships, was down to less than 20,000. But the most shocking images showed something else entirely. Human fleets were not just attacking Vorthak worlds. They were systematically targeting every species that had provided support to the Empire. Captain Hyun-soo led the intelligence operations that identified collaborators. His teams had spent months mapping which species had supplied the Vorthak with resources, weapons, or information. Now those species were paying the price. The Mergonian Consortium had provided the Vorthak with rare metals used in their weapons. Human ships had destroyed every Mergonian mining operation in known space. The collective of Zs had shared intelligence about human movements with the Vorthak. Now their communication networks lay in ruins and their ships fled whenever human vessels appeared. "You cannot do this," the Mergonian representative said desperately. "We are not at war with humanity. We never attacked your worlds." "But you helped those who did," Jiwoo replied. "You provided them with the materials they used to build the ships that murdered our people. Did you think there would be no consequences?" Engineer Yoonji had perfected the planet-killer weapons. 12 of them had been deployed so far, and 12 Vorthak worlds had died. Each weapon was more efficient than the last, requiring fewer resources and causing more complete destruction. The second Vorthak homeworld, Corvus Major, lasted exactly 14 minutes after the weapon struck. 3 billion Vorthak civilians died when their planet cracked apart and fell into its own sun. But Admiral Jiwoo was not finished with just destroying worlds. Dr. So-young had developed something even more terrifying, a quantum virus that could spread through Vorthak computer networks, turning their own technology against them. Entire Vorthak fleets suddenly found their ships' life support systems failing. Their weapons fired randomly, sometimes hitting their own vessels. Their navigation system sent them into asteroid fields or the gravity wells of stars. "Please." The Vorthak Prime Regent's message came through subspace, transmitted to every human ship in the galaxy. "We are willing to negotiate. We can reach an agreement that benefits both our species." Admiral Jiwoo's response was broadcast to every world in known space. "You had your chance to negotiate. That was before you decided to murder 3 billion humans. Now you get to experience what every other species has experienced when you came to their worlds. Total defeat." Commander Taiman had spent weeks infiltrating the deepest levels of Vorthak space. His mission was not just intelligence gathering anymore. He was hunting the Vorthak leadership, eliminating the individuals who had ordered the destruction of human colonies. One by one, Vorthak generals and admirals began disappearing. They would go to sleep in their heavily guarded compounds and never wake up. Their ships would lose contact during routine patrols, found later drifting empty through space. The Vorthak military command structure was falling apart. Officers who had commanded with absolute authority for centuries now looked over their shoulders constantly, knowing that humans could reach them anywhere. Pilot Minho had been promoted to lead an entire battle group of human fighters. His ship supported the liberation of enslaved worlds, but they also carried out missions that would have horrified the old human civilization. When the Vorthak tried to use civilian populations as human shields, Minho's forces attacked anyway. When enemy ships tried to surrender, human commanders sometimes accepted and sometimes did not, depending on what those ships had done during the war. "We are becoming what we said we would never become," Captain Wu Jin said during a private meeting with Admiral Ji Wu. "We are becoming as ruthless as the Vorthak." "No," Ji Wu replied. "We are becoming what we need to be to ensure that no one ever threatens humanity again. The galaxy respects only strength. Every species that has tried to be peaceful and reasonable has ended up as slaves. We will not be slaves." The war had changed humanity, but it had also changed the galaxy. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire was truly afraid. Their subjects were rebelling. Their allies were abandoning them. Their worlds were burning. The Kalari had retaken their homeworld and executed every Vorthak administrator they could find. The Zephyrians had declared independence and were helping human forces hunt down Vorthak ships in their territory. The Nexari had joined the human alliance completely, sharing their advanced technology in exchange for protection. Dr. So Young's final project was ready. She had developed a weapon that would not just destroy Vorthak worlds, it would make them uninhabitable for thousands of years. The radiation it produced would poison any Vorthak who tried to return, ensuring that lost territory stayed lost. "The quantum plague is ready for deployment," she reported to Admiral Ji Wu. "If we use it, the Vorthak homeworld will be dead for 10,000 years. Ji Wu looked at the weapon specifications. It was elegant, efficient, and absolutely merciless. It would end the war by making it impossible for the Vorthak to ever threaten anyone again. "Ma'am," Engineer Yunji said quietly, "if we do this, there will be no going back. The galaxy will fear us more than they ever feared the Vorthak." "Good," Ji Wu replied. "Fear will keep them from ever threatening us again." The message went out to every surviving Vorthak ship, every Vorthak world, every Vorthak leader. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. Lay down your weapons, release all slaves, and prepare to face justice for your crimes. If you refuse, your homeworld dies and your species follows it into extinction. The Vorthak Prime Regent, hiding in a bunker deep beneath his capital city, stared at the message with horror. He had ruled an empire of 300 worlds. He had commanded fleets that could destroy star systems. He had been the most powerful being in the galaxy. Now he was facing a choice between unconditional surrender and the complete extinction of his species. The humans had kept their promise. The galaxy was watching Vorthak worlds burn. The Vorthak retaliation came swift and brutal. Admiral Korthak, humiliated by his defeat at Earth, decided to teach humanity a lesson they would never forget. His remaining fleet split into 3 groups and attacked the human colonies of New Seoul, Busan Station, and Jeju Outpost. The colony worlds had been evacuated, but small groups of volunteers remained behind to maintain the settlements. When the Vorthak ships arrived, these brave humans sent one final message to Earth: "Tell our families we stood our ground." Then the orbital bombardment began. The attacks lasted for 6 hours. When they were finished, 3 worlds that had been home to millions of humans were nothing but burning rock and radioactive dust. The Vorthak had used their most powerful weapons, turning fertile planets into dead wastelands. Admiral Korthak broadcast his message across the galaxy. "This is the fate of any species that dares to resist the Vorthak Empire. Surrender now, humans, or watch more of your worlds die." He expected the message to break human morale. He expected Admiral Ji Wu to contact him with terms of surrender. He expected the humans to finally understand that resistance was futile. Instead, something else happened. The response came 12 hours later. It was not a surrender. It was not even a message. It was action. Captain Wu Jin's ghost fleet materialized inside the Helix system, deep in Vorthak territory. 50 human ships appeared without warning around the system's main industrial world. The planet produced weapons for the Vorthak military, and had been considered completely safe from attack. The human ships did not target military installations. They did not try to capture strategic positions. Instead, they systematically destroyed every factory, every spaceport, every piece of infrastructure on the planet's surface. When Vorthak defense ships arrived, they found the human fleet already gone. In their place was a message broadcast on all frequencies. 3 human colonies for 1 Vorthak factory world. The exchange rate will only get worse for you. Admiral Jiwoo stood in her command center, watching reports pour in from across Vorthak space. Human strike teams were hitting targets on dozens of worlds. Her ships appeared and vanished like ghosts, striking without warning and disappearing before the enemy could respond. "Ma'am," Captain Hyunsu reported, "Operation Wildfire is exceeding all projections. We have destroyed 47 Vorthak installations in the past week. Their military is completely confused about where we will strike next." "Good," Jiwoo replied, "but it is not enough. The Vorthak think they can break our will by killing our civilians. They need to learn that such actions have consequences." Dr. So Young approached with a tablet in her hands. "Admiral, I have completed the planet killer weapon design. It uses modified Vorthak technology, but it is much more efficient than their original." Jiwoo looked at the plans. The weapon was small enough to fit on a single ship, but powerful enough to crack a planet's crust. It was designed to cause maximum destruction with minimal resources. "How many can we build?" Jiwoo asked. 12 with current resources," Engineer Yunji replied. "But Admiral, using these weapons will make us no better than the Vorthak," Jiwoo finished. "I know. But they chose this path when they murdered 3 billion human civilians." She turned to address her senior staff. "The Vorthak have ruled through fear for thousands of years. They believe that superior firepower and ruthless tactics will make any enemy surrender. Today they learn what happens when those tactics are used against them." Commander Taemin's voice came through the communication system from his position near the Vorthak homeworld. "Admiral, I am in position to begin the infiltration mission. The target has been confirmed. Proceed," Jiwoo ordered. "Show them that nowhere in their empire is safe." Taemin's ship, modified with the most advanced stealth technology humanity had developed, slipped through the outer defenses of the Vorthak capital system. The homeworld of their empire was a massive planet covered in gleaming cities and orbital stations. For 3,000 years, no enemy had ever threatened this world. The Vorthak considered it absolutely secure, protected by layers of defense systems and the largest fleet in the galaxy. They were wrong. Taemin's mission was not to destroy the planet. It was something much more demoralizing for the Vorthak leadership. He was going to prove that humans could reach their most sacred and protected places whenever they wanted. His ship landed in a remote area of the planet's surface. From there, he made his way to the capital city using equipment that made him invisible to Vorthak sensors. His target was the Great Archive, a building where the Vorthak kept records of every world they had conquered. The building was heavily guarded, but the guards were looking for armies, not a single human with advanced stealth technology. Taemin walked past them like he was invisible. Inside the archive, he found what he was looking for: the memorial wall where the Vorthak listed every species they had enslaved. 3,000 years of conquest reduced to names carved in stone. Taemin placed a small device at the base of the wall. Then he carved new words into the stone with a plasma cutter. "Earth remembers. Humanity endures. Your empire ends here." The device he left behind was not a bomb. It was a transmitter that would broadcast human messages directly into the Vorthak communication network. Every day at the same time, it would remind them that humans had walked in their most sacred place. Meanwhile, across Vorthak space, Captain Wu Jin was implementing the new strategy. His ghost fleets no longer targeted just military bases. They struck at the economic heart of the empire: trade routes, manufacturing centers, and resource extraction operations. But the most devastating attacks came from an unexpected source. The species that the Vorthak had enslaved over the centuries were beginning to rebel. When they learned that humans were offering freedom and partnership instead of domination, they began turning against their masters. The Kalari, enslaved 50 years earlier, sabotaged the mining operations on their homeworld. The Zephyrians destroyed the communication relays in their system. The Nexari simply vanished into space, taking their knowledge of Vorthak technology with them. Pilot Minho led a squadron of human fighters in support of these rebellions. His ships provided cover for escaping slave populations and destroyed Vorthak vessels that tried to stop them. "This is different from anything we have seen before," Minho reported to Admiral Jiwoo. "The Vorthak are not just fighting humans anymore. They are fighting everyone they have oppressed." Dr. So Young's intelligence reports confirmed the spreading chaos. "The Vorthak Empire is fracturing," she told Jiwoo. "Their subject species are rising up across 40 different star systems. The Vorthak military cannot be everywhere at once." Admiral Jiwoo studied the strategic situation. The Vorthak had responded to human resistance with overwhelming brutality, expecting it to crush their opponents. Instead, it had proven to every species in the galaxy that the Vorthak could be hurt. "Ma'am," Engineer Yunji reported, "the first planet killer weapon is ready for deployment." Jiwoo looked at the weapon specifications one more time. She thought about the 3 human colonies that had been destroyed. She thought about the billions of people who had died simply because they were human. "Target the Vorthak Military Academy world of HFY," she ordered. "Make sure they understand the message." The weapon was deployed by one of Wu Jin's ghost ships. It struck HFY's surface and burrowed deep into the planet's core before detonating. The explosion cracked the planet like an egg, turning a world that had trained Vorthak officers for centuries into floating debris. The message was broadcast across the galaxy. "This is the price of murdering human civilians. For every human world you destroy, we will erase 2 Vorthak worlds from existence. The choice is yours." The Vorthak leadership watched their military academy die and finally began to understand what they were facing. These humans were not another primitive species to be conquered. They were something the galaxy had never seen before, a race that fought extinction wars. The fire was spreading, and the Vorthak Empire was beginning to burn. The Vorthak fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 massive warships hung in the darkness, their hulls gleaming with the light of distant stars. Admiral Korthak, commander of the invasion force, looked at the small blue planet on his display screen and smiled with satisfaction. "Send the surrender demand," he ordered his communications officer. "Tell the humans they have 1 hour to respond." The message was broadcast across all frequencies. But instead of the expected plea for mercy, something else came back. It was Admiral Jiwoo's voice, calm and clear. "To the Vorthak fleet, you were warned what would happen if you came here. You chose not to listen. The consequences are now yours to face." Admiral Korthak laughed. "The humans think they can frighten us with words. Begin the attack." But as his ships moved toward Earth, something strange happened. The planet seemed empty. Their sensors showed no major cities, no massive populations, no signs of the bustling civilization they expected to find. "Sir," his sensor operator called out, "I am detecting only small military installations on the surface. Where are the cities? Where are the billions of humans?" Before Korthak could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the fleet. Ships were reporting explosions across 12 different star systems. Supply bases that had existed for centuries were suddenly going dark. On the bridge of his hidden ship, Captain Hyun Soo watched the Vorthak fleet through his stealth systems. While the aliens focused on Earth, human strike teams had been busy. 12 supply depots, each one critical to Vorthak operations, had been destroyed in perfectly coordinated attacks. "Phase 1 complete," he reported to Admiral Jiwoo. "Their supply lines are cut. They will not be able to refuel or resupply for at least 6 months." "Excellent," Jiwoo replied from Earth's command center. "Begin Phase 2. Across the solar system, human ships began appearing from behind asteroids, moons, and space stations. But these were not the primitive vessels the Vorthak expected. They were sleek, fast, and armed with weapons that should not exist. Pilot Minho led the first attack squadron. His ship, barely half the size of the smallest Vorthak vessel, streaked toward the alien formation at incredible speed. Behind him came 50 more human fighters, each one piloted by someone who had volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission. "Remember," Minho said over the comm system, "we are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to hurt them as much as possible before they know what hit them." The human fighters hit the Vorthak fleet like a swarm of angry insects. They were too small and fast for the alien weapons to target effectively. But their own weapons punched through Vorthak shields like they were made of paper. Admiral Korthak watched in shock as his ships began exploding around him. "How are they doing this? Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our armor. His tactical officer checked the readings. Sir, they are using modified versions of our own weapons. They are more powerful than our originals. Impossible, Korthak snarled. Humans are primitives. They cannot improve our technology. But the evidence was right in front of him. Human fighters were dancing between his massive ships, striking weak points with surgical precision. Every attack seemed perfectly planned, perfectly executed. Then something even more shocking happened. A group of human fighters, their ships damaged and engines failing, did not retreat. Instead, they accelerated directly toward Korthak's flagship. They are going to ram us, his navigation officer said in disbelief. They are sacrificing themselves just to damage one ship. The human fighters slammed into the flagship's hull, their small ships exploding like missiles. The damage was severe enough to knock out several weapon systems and damage the ship's main engines. Korthak had never seen anything like it. In his 300 years of conquest, no species had ever used deliberate suicide attacks as a regular tactic. Most aliens valued their individual lives too much to throw them away for a strategic advantage. Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving messages from bases across the Empire. Human forces are attacking our installations in 17 different systems. They are not just hitting military targets, they are destroying everything. On another part of the battlefield, Captain Wu Jin commanded a group of larger human vessels. His ships looked like nothing in any alien database. They were long and narrow, built for speed rather than armor, and they moved through space in formations that confused Vorthak targeting computers. Ghost Squadron. Engage Pattern 7, Wu Jin ordered. His ships suddenly scattered in different directions, each one following an unpredictable course. The Vorthak tried to track them, but human ships would appear in one location, fire a devastating salvo, then vanish before return fire could reach them. Dr. So Young's modifications were working perfectly. Human ships could jump short distances through space using quantum displacement technology that the Vorthak had never developed. It allowed human forces to appear anywhere on the battlefield without warning. Admiral Korthak tried to adapt his tactics, but nothing worked. His ships were designed to fight enemies who stood still and exchanged fire until one side was destroyed. The humans refused to fight that way. Instead, they hit and ran. They attacked from unexpected angles. They sacrificed damaged ships to take out healthy ones. They used every dirty trick and underhanded tactic that civilized species had abandoned centuries ago. Sir, his sensor operator called out, I am detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. They are powering up something big. Earth's hidden weapons came online. Massive railguns built into mountains fired projectiles at significant portions of light speed. Energy beams powered by the planet's core lanced out across space, punching through Vorthak shields like they were soap bubbles. But the most shocking sight came when human ships began using captured Vorthak vessels against the fleet. Dr. So Young's hacking programs had worked. Alien ships suddenly turned on their own allies, their weapon systems completely under human control. This is impossible, Korthak said, watching his own ships destroy each other. How are they controlling our vessels? His tactical officer was studying the data. They are not just using our technology, sir. They are using it better than we do. Their modifications have made our own weapons more effective against us. The battle was not going as planned. Korthak had expected to crush a primitive species in a matter of hours. Instead, he was watching his fleet take heavy damage from an enemy that seemed to know exactly how to hurt them. Withdraw to the outer system, he ordered. We need time to regroup and understand what we are facing. But as his ships tried to retreat, they found their path blocked by more human vessels. Admiral Jiwoo had anticipated the withdrawal and positioned her forces accordingly. This is Admiral Jiwoo to the Vorthak fleet, came the transmission. You came here expecting to conquer us. You found something else instead. This is what happens when you threaten human families. This is what war looks like when humans stop being polite. Admiral Korthak stared at his tactical display. Half his ships were damaged or destroyed. His supply lines were cut. His own vessels were turning against him, and the humans showed no sign of slowing down. For the first time in his long military career, Korthak began to understand that he might have made a terrible mistake. These humans were not like other species. They did not fight to defend themselves. They fought to destroy their enemies completely. The message they had sent was becoming clear. You want war? Then watch your worlds burn. Admiral Jiwoo stood at the window of Earth's orbital command station, looking down at her homeworld. The blue planet seemed peaceful from here, but she knew that peace would not last long. The message from her brother Tai-min had been clear. The Vorthak were coming, and they wanted to make humanity their slaves. The door behind her opened, and her top officers entered the room. Captain Hyun-soo was first, a quiet man who ran Earth's intelligence network. Behind him came Dr. So-young, the brilliant scientist who had been studying alien technology for years. Engineer Yoonji followed, carrying a tablet full of weapon designs. Last came Captain Woo-jin, whose job was to command Earth's small but growing fleet. "Sit down," Jiwoo said without turning around. "We have work to do." The officers took their places around the metal table. Jiwoo finally turned to face them. Her expression was serious but not afraid. She had been preparing for this day since the first alien ship crashed on Earth 5 years ago. "The Vorthak have given us 1 galactic cycle to surrender," she said. "That means we have about 3 months to get ready." "Hyun-soo, what do we know about their military?" Captain Hyun-soo opened his folder. "Their empire controls 300 worlds. They have approximately 50,000 warships, with more being built every day. Their main fleet has ships 10 times larger than anything we have. Their weapons can destroy a planet from orbit." Dr. So-young shook her head. "The numbers make it sound impossible, but numbers do not tell the whole story." "Explain," Jiwoo said. So-young activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a map of Vorthak space with trade routes and military bases marked in different colors. "I have been studying their technology for years," she said. "The Vorthak are powerful, but they are also lazy. They have used the same ship designs for centuries. They use the same tactics against every enemy. They expect other species to fight the way they fight." Yoonji nodded. "That is their weakness. When we captured their ships, we found something interesting. Their technology is advanced, but it is not creative. They build things to work one way and they never change." "Humans are different," Jiwoo said. "Exactly," So-young replied. "We do not just copy their technology. We improve it. We make it work in ways they never thought of. Look at this." The display changed to show Earth's hidden shipyards. Dozens of vessels hung in space, looking like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. They were smaller than Vorthak ships, but sleeker and faster. "We have been building these for 2 years," Yoonji explained. "They use Vorthak engines, but with human modifications. They are 3 times faster than anything in the alien fleet. Their weapons use Vorthak energy cores, but we have made them twice as powerful." Captain Woo-jin leaned forward. "How many ships do we have?" "Not enough to fight their main fleet directly," Jiwoo admitted. "We have 500 combat vessels plus twice that many support ships. Against 50,000 Vorthak ships we would lose in a straight fight." "So we do not fight straight," Hyun-soo said quietly. Jiwoo smiled. "Exactly. Hyun-soo, show them the intelligence reports." The display changed again, this time showing detailed maps of Vorthak supply lines. Red dots marked fuel depots, weapons factories, and communication stations spread across dozens of star systems. "The Vorthak Empire is huge," Hyun-soo explained. "But that size is also a weakness. They need constant supplies from hundreds of worlds. If those supplies stop, their fleet cannot function." "You want to attack their supply lines," Woo-jin said. "Not just attack them," Jiwoo replied. "Destroy them completely. While they are looking for our main fleet, we hit their supply bases. Without fuel and weapons, even the strongest ship is just floating metal." Dr. So-young brought up another display. "There is more. The Vorthak have ruled for so long that they do not expect real resistance. Most species fight to defend their homeworlds and then surrender. They do not expect an enemy to take the war to them." "But we will," Jiwoo said. "We will not wait for them to attack Earth. We will attack them first in their own space." Yoonji looked worried. "Admiral, even if we destroy their supply lines, they still have enough ships to glass our planet. Once they realize what we are doing, they will come straight for Earth." Jiwoo nodded. "I know, that is why Earth will not be here when they arrive." The room fell silent. The officers stared at their admiral, unsure they had heard correctly. "Explain," Hyun-soo said. "We have been building more than just warships," Jiwoo said. "We have been building colony ships. In the next 3 months, we will move every human who cannot fight to hidden bases in distant star systems. Earth will be left with only military personnel and volunteers." "You want to evacuate the entire planet?" Dr. So-young asked. "Not evacuate, relocate. Earth will become a fortress, not a home. If the Vorthak want to fight us here, they will find only soldiers waiting for them." Captain Wu Jin was quiet for a moment. What about the moral question? We are talking about starting a war that could last for years. Ji Wu's expression hardened. The Vorthak started this war when they decided to enslave us. They think humans are just another weak species they can conquer. They are wrong. She stood up and walked to the window again. Every species they have conquered tried to negotiate. They tried to find peaceful solutions. They tried to appease the Vorthak. All of them became slaves. She turned back to her officers. Humans will not beg. We will not negotiate. We will not become slaves. If the Vorthak want a war, we will give them a war unlike anything they have ever seen. Dr. So Young activated her tablet. I have been working on one more project. Something the Vorthak will not expect. What is it? Ji Wu asked. A way to make their own weapons turn against them. I have found a weakness in their computer systems. With the right signal, we can take control of their ships. Yunji's eyes widened. You can hack their entire fleet? Not all of them at once, So Young admitted. But enough to cause chaos. Imagine if half their ships suddenly started firing on the other half. Ji Wu smiled grimly. The Vorthak have ruled through fear for thousands of years. It is time they learned what fear feels like. She looked at each of her officers. You all have your orders. Hyunsu, I want detailed maps of every Vorthak base within 50 light years. Hyunji, finish the ship modifications and start training pilots. Wu Jin, prepare the fleet for hit-and-run tactics. So Young, perfect that hacking system. What about you, Admiral? Hyunsu asked. Ji Wu looked out at Earth one more time. I am going to send a message to every human colony, every ship, every base. They need to know that the war is coming. They need to know that we will not surrender. As her officers left the room, Ji Wu remained at the window. Her brother had delivered humanity's declaration of war. Now it was time to make good on that promise. The Vorthak wanted to see human worlds burn. Instead, they would watch their own empire crumble. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's children. The giant space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Inside its halls, creatures from across the galaxy gathered for an important meeting. The Galactic Council of Vorthak had ruled over hundreds of worlds for thousands of years. Today, they would decide the fate of a small blue planet called Earth. Commander Taimin stood in the center of the Great Hall. He was tall for a human with dark hair and calm eyes. Around him sat dozens of alien beings. Some had multiple arms, others had scales instead of skin. All of them looked down at him with the same expression. They thought humans were nothing special. The Vorthak Prime Regent rose from his throne. He was massive, nearly twice as tall as Taimin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder. Human, the Regent said. Your species has been chosen for integration into our empire. Your world has resources we need. Your people will work for us. This is not a request. This is how things will be. Taimin did not move. He had expected this. For months, human ships had been watching the Vorthak fleet grow larger. Earth scientists had studied the alien technology they found on crashed ships. They knew this day would come. And if we refuse? Taimin asked. The Regent laughed. It was a sound like metal grinding against stone. Look around you, human. We rule over 300 worlds. We have ships that can turn your planet to dust. We have weapons your people cannot imagine. No species has ever refused us and survived. Other council members began to speak. A creature with 6 eyes leaned forward. The humans are young, it said. They have no real weapons. Their ships are slow and weak. Why waste time talking? Another alien, this one covered in blue fur, nodded. We gave the Kellery the same choice 50 years ago. They tried to fight. Now their children work in our mines. The humans will learn. Taimin listened to them talk about his species like they were animals. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people who trusted him to keep them safe. He thought about his sister Ji Wu, who commanded Earth's small fleet. He thought about the children who would grow up as slaves if he failed here. The Regent raised one of his 4 hands for silence. We are generous, he said. We give you 1 standard galactic cycle to prepare. Gather your leaders. Tell them what will happen. When we return, your world will join our empire. Your people will serve us. This is final. The hall fell quiet. Every eye was on Taimin. They expected him to beg. They expected him to ask for more time or better terms. They expected him to act like every other species they had conquered. Instead, Taimin smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that others did not. The aliens shifted in their seats. Something about the humans' reaction made them uncomfortable. You know, Timon said in a quiet voice, my people have a saying. It goes like this: be careful what you ask for. The regent's 4 eyes narrowed. Hey, explain yourself, human. Timon looked around the hall, meeting the gaze of every alien present. When he spoke again, his voice was steady and clear. You want to enslave my people. You want to take our world. You think we are weak because we are young. He paused. You are making a mistake. Are you threatening us? The blue-furred alien asked. You dare threaten the Galactic Council? Timon's smile grew wider. Not threatening, promising. He turned to face the regent directly. You want war? Then watch your worlds burn. The hall erupted. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in languages Timon did not understand. Some reached for weapons. Others called for the human to be killed immediately. The regent slammed his fist on his throne. Silence. The noise stopped. He stared at Timon with pure hatred. You think your primitive weapons can hurt us? You think your tiny fleet can challenge our armada? I think, Timon said calmly, that you have no idea what humans are capable of when someone threatens our families. Prove it, the regent snarled. I will, Timon replied. When your ships come to Earth, you will learn why it was a mistake to wake us up. You will learn why every species in this galaxy should fear humans. And when your worlds are burning, remember this moment. Remember that you chose this. The 6-eyed alien laughed nervously. The human has gone insane. Fear has broken his mind. But the regent was not laughing. He had conquered many worlds and seen many species beg for mercy. He had never seen one promise to burn his empire to the ground with such calm certainty. Guards, the regent said, escort the human to his ship. Let him return to his world with our message. As Timon was led from the hall, he heard the aliens talking among themselves. Some laughed at his words. Others seemed worried. The regent watched him go in silence. Timon's ship, the Horizon's Edge, was small compared to the alien vessels around the station. But it was fast, and it had been modified with technology the Vorthak had never seen before. As he left the station behind, Timon activated his communication system. This is Commander Timon to Earth Command, he said. The Vorthak have made their choice. Send the signal to Admiral Jiwoo. Operation Wildfire is now active. On the other end of the transmission, a voice answered. Understood, Commander. The Admiral is already moving the pieces into place. Earth will be ready. Timon looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them was Earth, his home. The Vorthak thought they were about to conquer another weak species. They had no idea they had just awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to become more dangerous when someone threatened those they loved. The war was coming. The Vorthak had made their choice. Soon they would learn what it meant to fight humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. The message was clear. You want war? Then watch your worlds burn. The Vorthak surrender came 18 hours before the deadline. It was broadcast across every frequency, transmitted to every world in known space. The Prime Regent's voice, once filled with arrogance and power, now carried only defeat and desperation. The Vorthak Empire hereby surrenders unconditionally to the Human Alliance, he said. We release all claims to conquered territories. We free all enslaved species. We place ourselves at the mercy of human justice. Admiral Jiwoo stood in what had once been the Galactic Council chambers. The great hall where her brother Taemin had first delivered humanity's declaration of war was now under human control. Around her sat representatives from dozens of species, former Vorthak slaves who had joined the human cause. The Vorthak themselves were represented by a small group of officials who had survived the war. They sat in chairs designed for much larger beings, looking small and defeated. Commander Timon read the terms of surrender. His voice echoed through the hall where he had once been mocked and dismissed. The Vorthak military will be disbanded, he announced. All Vorthak weapons of mass destruction will be turned over to human forces for disposal. Vorthak leaders responsible for war crimes will face trial. Surviving Vorthak civilians will be relocated to designated reservation worlds under human supervision. The former Prime Regent tried to speak. Please, Commander, our people need... Your people, Taemin interrupted, will receive exactly the same consideration you showed the billions of beings you enslaved over 3,000 years. Nothing more. Admiral Jiwoo stepped forward. The hall fell completely silent. Every being present knew they were witnessing history. The end of the longest-lasting empire in galactic history, and the birth of a new order. 3 months ago, she said, the Vorthak came to Earth and demanded our surrender. They thought humans were just another primitive species to be conquered and enslaved. They were wrong. She gestured to the displays around the hall showing the current state of the galaxy. Of the 300 worlds that had once belonged to the Vorthak Empire, only 37 still existed. The rest were either destroyed completely or so heavily damaged that they could not support life. The war is over, Jiwoo announced, but the peace that follows will be different from anything this galaxy has known. For 3,000 years you have lived under Vorthak rule. Some species were slaves, others were allies. All of you lived in fear. Captain Hyun-soo activated the holographic display showing humanity's new territorial claims. Human ships now controlled the most strategically important star systems in former Vorthak space. Earth's military bases were being established on dozens of worlds. The Human Alliance now guarantees the freedom of all former Vorthak subjects, Jiwoo continued. But this protection comes with responsibilities. Any species that threatens the peace, any government that tries to rebuild an empire, any military that targets civilian populations will be eliminated. The Kalari representative stood up. Admiral Jiwoo, what about justice for the crimes committed against our people? Justice will be served, Jiwoo replied. But it will be human justice administered according to human law. We have seen what happens when the galaxy polices itself. It leads to 3,000 years of slavery and oppression. Dr. So-young had prepared the final component of humanity's new order. She activated a quantum beacon that would monitor all communication and military activity across the galaxy. Any species that began building weapons of mass destruction would be detected immediately. This beacon will ensure that no species ever again builds the kind of military that the Vorthak used to terrorize the galaxy, So-young explained. Any attempt to create planet-killing weapons, any effort to build fleets designed for conquest, will result in immediate human intervention. Engineer Yoonji had spent the final weeks of the war designing something unprecedented. Mobile space stations that could travel between star systems and establish human authority wherever it was needed. These stations carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets and were crewed by the most experienced human warriors. 12 Guardian stations will patrol the major trade routes, Yoonji announced. Each one is equipped with planet-killer weapons and staffed with troops ready to respond to any threat. The galaxy will never again suffer under the rule of conquerors. Captain Woo Jin stood to address the assembled representatives. His ghost fleets had become the most feared military force in known space, and his presence reminded everyone of humanity's reach. Some of you are wondering what kind of rulers humans will be, he said. You are wondering if we will be better than the Vorthak or just different. Here's your answer. We will not be rulers at all. The hall stirred with confusion. Woo Jin continued. Humans do not want to rule other species. We want to make sure that no species ever again has the power to threaten our families. The difference is important. Admiral Jiwoo returned to the center of the hall. The Human Alliance offers partnership, not domination. Any species that wants to join us as equals will be welcomed. Any species that wants to remain independent but peaceful will be protected. Any species that chooses aggression will be eliminated. Pilot Min Ho, now commanding an entire battle fleet, spoke next. The old galaxy died when the Vorthak decided to threaten humanity. What replaces it will be better, but only for those who choose to make it better. The ceremony concluded with the activation of humanity's ultimate deterrent. Dr. So-young had developed a quantum transmission system that could deliver her planet-killing virus to any world in the galaxy within minutes of receiving the order. This weapon will never be used, unless someone forces us to use it, Jiwoo announced. But it exists, and every species in the galaxy now knows it exists. The message is simple. Leave humans alone, leave our allies alone, and you will never have to worry about human weapons. As the various representatives filed out of the hall, the former Vorthak Prime Regent approached Admiral Jiwoo. His massive frame was bent with defeat, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. Admiral, he said quietly, you have destroyed my empire and scattered my people, but I must ask, what was the point? What did you gain that you could not have achieved through negotiation? Jiwoo looked at the being who had once commanded fleets that could destroy star systems. You still do not understand, she said. We did not do this for gain. We did this to make sure that no other species ever has to make the choice between slavery and extinction. She turned to look at the display showing Earth, now the capital of the human alliance. Every child in this galaxy will grow up knowing that someone is watching. Someone is ready to protect them if they are threatened. That is what we gained. Commander Taman joined his sister as the former ruler of the galaxy walked away. Do you think he finally understands? He asked. It does not matter, Jiwoo replied. Understanding was never the point. Deterrence was the point. The final message was broadcast across the galaxy, transmitted by the quantum beacon that would forever monitor galactic civilization. It was simple, direct, and carried the weight of humanity's demonstrated power. To any species that might consider threatening innocent worlds, remember the Vorthak Empire. Remember what happened to those who thought humans were weak. Remember that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships are watching and waiting. You want war? Then watch your worlds burn. The galaxy had learned its lesson. In the years that followed, no major conflicts erupted. No species attempted to build conquest fleets. No empire rose to challenge human authority. The age of galactic peace had begun, enforced by a species that had proven it would destroy entire civilizations to protect its children. Humanity had kept its promise, and the galaxy would never forget the cost of threatening those they loved. The stars themselves seemed calmer, as if the universe had finally found the guardians it had been waiting for.